Hey, what's up, guys? Today I'm going to be playing some rapid games to try to display how to play principal chess. But first off, we're going to do a puzzle streak just to get warmed up, as always. So bear with me for a moment while I adjust the screen. And all right, I think it's time. No, there's that little margin there. That's annoying. Oh well. All right. I think it's time to get started. So let's go to that. There we go. Perfect. All right, it's time to get started on that good puzzle streak. So, so I'm already kind of far into a game or a puzzle streak, so I'm just going to make a random move and fail the streak.
Check.
So that we can start over. And let me make sure things look good. Perfecto! All right, let's go. Let's get started. Let's play a puzzle streak. Let's get started. All right, what's going on here? I noticed some back rank issues, so I'd love to play rook e8, rook e8, king g7, and then we get to play queen f8, and that's checkmate.
Check. Check.
All right, in this position, we have some interesting. I think we can just take. There's also, yeah, I think we can just take with our queen, because after it takes, knight takes, rook takes, then we have a back rank checkmate. So we just take. We look for any fishy business our opponent has. None. And then we take. All right. Here, the light squares around the king look pretty weak, so I want to also then control the dark squares, and that leads me to the solution. Even though, it's winning the queen. It's not necessarily about the king. Of course, it's about attacking the king, but it's not about mating the king.
Check.
But in trying to mate the king, notice how I found the solution by thinking about the weaknesses that the opponent's king had, or the squares around the opponent's king. All right, so here I notice that we can just remove the defender of this now hanging rook. We hit the queen in turn, so then we just get to take and no funny business, so pretty straightforward.
Check.
All right, so we have two pawns here. We got to move away somehow. We probably want to keep in touch with this pawn. I mean, king f4 kind of looks like a no-brainer. So then we can play king g6 maybe, or just pressure this pawn, put this over here. There's nowhere else good to go. King f4 is a no-brainer, even though I don't really see any tactics here yet. We could increase pressure with bishop f7 or bishop d7. We could penetrate with our king over to g5. That actually looks more robust. Actually, I like that. And then our opponent might play king d5, and then we play king f6. And hopefully we get a zugzwang going. There's also this interesting. No, that's bad. Yeah, so I like king g5. All right, these are some tricky puzzles for, level 4, level 5. All right, so the best move for black here looks like actualizing a mating pattern. So we have these two rooks here. We're controlling the second rank. I'd love to just go ahead and mate the king as well. The only resistance our opponent can put up is bishop b1, and then we just take and it's mate. So this is that ladder mate that ladder mate pattern where our rooks control. Our rooks essentially force the king to leave the board, but the king has nowhere to go.
Check.
So it's
Check.
mate.
Check.
All right, best move for white. I got my bishops doing work, so we just get to play bishop h7. and that's mate because my dark squared bishop is so strong. My light squared bishop is really strong as well. H7 just
Check.
mates. Alright, so I noticed there's this standoff between the rooks right here. If we can, oops,
Check.
that went back in the game.
Check.
It always shows you the full game, so if you accidentally scroll, then it'll take you back in the
Check.
game, and you always have to get back. I really like this. It just seems to win the rook, but beside that, which is not enough for this position, actually forces checkmate.
Check. Check.
Notice how the dark squares were covered and the king had nowhere to go. Alright. So in this position, the critical thing that I notice is this actually this d6 pawn controlling e7. Why is that critical? Well, it extends the back rank weakness of black's king, meaning that we are actually enabled to sacrifice our queen on f8, king takes f8, and then we retain that back rank weakness. The back rank mating pattern comes into play, and we're actually able to get away with rook b8. After bishop c8, we play rook c8 and game over because the king can't move.
Check.
It's a nice little back rank checkmate pattern, checkmate combination, but again, all made possible by your friend on d6.
Check. Check.
Alright, so I want to mate the king because these two pieces have completely forgone, is that the right word? I don't know. Have completely abandoned their own king, and it's very straightforward for me to enter and penetrate and win. So I don't think there are any moves to consider. I think we just play queen c7.
Check.
And then this looks pretty good. King h5. If we play here, then you're forced here, and then we bring our bishop down. Queen takes, king takes, and that's mate.
Check. 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 Check.
Alright. My two bishops look pretty strong, so I think we insert bishop h7 first, and if the king goes to a dark square, we meet it with reclaiming the knight. Material-wise, we're down a minor piece, so we'd love to reclaim it with as much initiative as possible. So bishop h7, if then king f7, then we probably just want to take, which then opens up the g6 square for our queen, and notice how the king is arranged in this dovetail mating pattern. I believe destruction will ensue.
Check.
And in such a scenario as that, our job is even easier. We just get to take and have very, very strong initiative. This move is going to be forced, after which we have some possibilities to further our attack. So the puzzle therefore ends there. Alright, so in finding the best move for white, I noticed the king is kind of boxed in by my king. I also noticed this queen is just chilling by herself. I also notice I have these connected passed pawns, which might even enable... No, that's not good. But, I don't know, this king is just kind of vulnerable. Even, like, queen f3 ideas, and then claiming that we'll win with our pawn advantage looks pretty appealing as well. So after queen f3, I'm sure that's the solution. Then the king must move to either c5 or d6. Then we get to take. If the king goes to c5, for example, maybe a queen check is then we just play here. No, we don't want to advance our pawn like that. We would come back. Our queen is here. We're chilling.
Check.
Alright, so I don't love... Oh, okay. Well, this basic pattern evaded me at first, but this looks pretty good. We have a rook, rook, 2 minors. Rook, rook, 2 minors for our opponent as well. pawns, our pawns are completely equivalent. So this looks pretty good. The only thing I don't love about it is that white gets to keep this knight here, which is going to be pretty... Oh, wait, no, we don't even give up our bishop. No, we're chilling. Though if bishop e2, then we might take, and I think we can claim that we're okay there. Being up an entire rook plus a pawn, I don't think any initiative of our opponents will prove too effective. And, you know, maybe we then play... But that's actually not clear. I think we'd have to play knight d7 in order to prevent these forks. But that's like way down the road. That's way after the puzzle's going to end. For sake of the puzzle, we just come here. And we then want to take the full rook. Or maybe develop our initiative. But the full rook looks pretty juicy to me. Right, and so this is actually what I was thinking about. So we're going to have to take... And after queen takes, I think we'd have to play knight e7. So, but, you know, that's kind of beyond the position. Alright, this is a pattern I'm very, very familiar with. We just play g3, we force the king into a ditch, and then trap him off, play rook h1, and it's mate. There's nothing you can do about it. This arrangement of rooks and pawn and king on the edge of the board almost always ends in mate. Notice how this pawn is also critical, controlling the last escape square of the king.
Check.
And how my other rook controlled that pawn in front of the king. Alright, so you always want to ask yourself, what if I promote first anyway? What happens? Well, that square is pretty well under control. So then I'm like, okay, I mean, you know, maybe I can play it, but maybe I can mess around with queen h8 ideas. In my mind, it's far more effective to start out with queen h8 and only then consider promotion. But after I just looked at that little cute line, I noticed that the king lines up and grows a little dovetail, and then we get to play queen d8, and that's checkmate. That's unavoidable.
Check.
Ah, this is a really pretty one. So our opponent seems to have a nice initiative, you know, counter-punching our mating attack, but the one detail they forgot is that I can block their check and bring up a check of my own, and my check will prove to lead to mate.
Check.
So
Check.
that's a pretty nice one. Okay, find best move for white. I do like the idea of takes and then forking, winning us quite a bit of material, and I believe these two bishops will be plenty enough to defend against this lone queen. So I really like rook to g7.
Check.
So the computer points out that I didn't have to play rook g7 to make this all work, and in fact I could have simply played queen e6 first, slightly more flexible because we don't yet give up our rook, and maybe we can use our rook in tandem with our queen, and worst case we'll give it up later, I think is the idea, but there might even be a mate pattern here. Let's see.
Check.
What is the puzzle?
Check.
Okay, and then king h7, and then maybe we give our guy up. No, I don't understand this. Okay, so first of all, why not rook g7?
Check.
Rook g7, rook g7, queen
Check.
6, king h7, check. But then we leave our king with this lone defender. I forgot that the rook would then join the attack, and that's going to prove effective. We can't simply block with our bishop anymore, though that's the only thing we can actually do, so it's going to get eaten. That's not pretty. Understood?
Check. check,
Now for the
Check.
winning
check, check, check,
king h7, after which we simply bring our queen back and glue everything together. If rook takes f4, then we just
Check.
mate on the spot. Everything is covered. So how could I not make that mistake again?
check,
Yeah, in that position I got sucked into the materialistic route, thinking the materialistic evaluation criterion and only the materialistic evaluation criterion, which was that, oh, I'm better material-wise, I'm fine, but I totally forgot that leaving the rook on g7, forgoing my queen, not gluing anything together, gave black a really nice initiative. Bringing the rook down to g1 and then bishop f1 would be forced, and following that up in a number of ways.
check,
So in order to avoid
Check,
that
check.
mistake, I just needed to ask myself,
check, check,
what sort of initiative
check.
do I give to black
Check,
in position?
check,
Alright, I realized that I need to do something. I need to play some daily games on chess.com. These are just openings, so it'll be fine. Alright. Alright, let's get into the games. Let's do 15-10, because I want it to be instructional.
ready,
Alright, playing a lower rated opponent. Oh, let me change the, let me make my first move and then change the, there we go. Alright, e4, e5, knight f3 of course, is what we play. I want to learn the Vienna. I haven't touched the Vienna in ages, and I feel like it would be pretty fun. I think bishop c4 and d4, both nice moves. The opponent's already left the game. Okay, now they're back. I hope their internet connection is stable. h6 is terrible. H6 means you just don't really have any clue what's going on. So that calls for aggression in the center. d4. You play on the flank, I play in the center. Then we see who wins. h6 is a really bad move. Really, really bad move. Really, like knight f6 would have been fine. Ugh, man. Okay, here I'm already tempted into like bishop f7, king f7. I don't think it works though. Oh man, I could do things. I could take here. Though if I develop my knight and you took, then I could play here anyway. That just seems nice. If you take. Okay, I think I just want to go the most straightforward route. I want to go the most straightforward route. And thanks to the extra tempo, our opponent can't even take back. They can't move their bishop out because they're so passive. They've gotta, and they can't play knight f6. They're already busted. And all we did was play principled chess. All we did was play center-oriented chess. And all it took was 2 passive moves from our opponent. And their position's already critical. Her position is already critical. Alright, so how to continue in the spirit of center-oriented chess? We could think about taking, but that kind of relieves some cramp for the opponent. Instead, I like the idea of just really quickly developing. Allowing our opponent to have the material back and claiming that we will overwhelm them with an initiative in the center. Knight d5 looks amazing. We'll be able to castle, maybe play bishop e3 and castle either way we want. Castling queenside seems great in this position because we already have such a lead in development. No, I don't like that. Okay, what's the most principled move? I believe takes is the most principled move. Something I didn't notice earlier is that if queen takes, then we have queen f7, maybe bishop f7. Whoa, there. Wow. I mean, this just loses on the spot.
Check.
Yeah, we just go up the whole piece and a pawn. All right, now I believe the most principled move is bishop f4, maybe knight d5, but I like bishop f4. Bring all the guys to the party, like Yasser. I love Yasser so much. See, now knight d5 looks good. Oh, maybe even knight b5, so that we're controlling d6 as well. Yes, I like this. No. I will complete my development, and only then bring all the guys to the party. Bring all the guys to the party. That's what Yasser says, so that's what I do. Alright, these light squares seem optically weak, but I don't really think I want to push the king away right now. I don't really see a reason to do so. Alright, so we have two options. We could go back to g3, you could go back to e3. Both look fine. I wouldn't really fret over it, but I'm just going to go to g3. And maybe that gives you h5 ideas, but then I have, knight to d5, and now our bishop, we've created some space for our bishop by threatening to take on c7. If bishop trade happens, we're up quite a bit of material. Pretty nice to see that. Ooh, yeah, I think we just stick to the plan. I don't love that rook takes is an idea. But, yeah. But we're still so much better we are. Every single guy is in the party. This knight can't get out. We've got looming threats. And now our opponent, of course, blunders. Misses that all of our guys are at the party and all of his weren't at the party. So, we get to rule the party. Illicit 911. Hey, welcome to the stream. Alrighty, now we can just bring our guy back. We do not. One move we don't play here is bishop d5, severing the connection between our rooks. You get the idea. So we go to c4, and we're happy. All the guys are at the party. We have more guys at our party than our opponent has at their party. Okay, there's no reason to open up files for the rook, so f4 is an option that looks pretty strong. None of this is possible. If this, then this. Yeah, I mean, f4 looks nice, but okay. So now all the guys are at the party. The king is looking really weak. I'd love to maybe advance some pawns over here. But what I really need to do is figure out how to coordinate my light-squared bishop with these guys. I think a5 actually accomplishes everything. So I think I like I don't want to give my opponent any passed pawns, and I don't think our opponent really wants to take with the rook, because then they leave this guy hanging. They'll have to come right back, and in the resulting position. Very nice, very good move, but now I get to defend this guy, so... Oh no!
Check.
Oh man, now they're back in the game because I missed something. Okay. No need to fret. No need to fret. We still have a great position. Bring our king in the game because now all the guys have to join the party. And I think that bringing all the guys to the party looks really good. We could also, no, we don't really want to do that. You know, our bishop looks great here, but well, so we want to prepare both majorities so that in the most simplified position, we would have two passed pawns, and opponent would have some chance of holding that, but I don't know, I like it. I like it. All right. All right. Let's stop progress over here. Does allow our opponent to play this, but I think it's fine. We're building this wall, so this, I think this position really calls to play it slow. Okay, but now with this bishop out of the game, g5 actually looks nice. Takes. I want to go for it. I want to go for g5. Because when the bishop was like centralized, I didn't really want to go for g5. I wanted to play it slower. But now this just looks even better. Bringing our bishop up to f7 to support g6, which would then help us, you know, play e6, and with this bishop, pawn against the lone king, I mean, we're just dominating. You gotta get the bishop back into the game, you gotta get the guy back to the party, but you know, that gives us time to you know, get a nice ending to the party. Alright, that, oh, actually, yeah, this was my plan. Now the king has to move, but that just allows me to move up. I could even play it slower, maybe. Play like something like that, something like this. I could come up, but I think slow play will win because it's opposite colored bishop. So it's not like as long as I put my pawns on the light squares, they're not going to be targets, you know? They're not going to be targets because the king is tied down. Alright, this is a very logical move. So my king could penetrate here, and I think be really good. I think do really well. But this seems more direct. No, actually, well, yeah, it does. It does seem more direct. We threaten to come to h6, then play g7. I think that will be played. But then I would play like that. Then the king would have to come here. I would do that. And then you lose. So I think bishop... There could be more nuance to this, but bishop d2 looks like a losing move that I think our opponent is probably going to play. Okay. They play smarter. Very good. Very good. Now we want to get this guy rolling. So we will lock off the king from joining the game. We could even bring our king all the... Okay. So this is what we wanted to do anyway. So I don't really see any value in this move. All we ever wanted to do, I think, is just bring our king over here and penetrate on this side. We've tied the king down with our bishop. This pawn's never getting eaten. This pawn can only get eaten by the king. So maybe I just play e6 or e5. Yeah. We just play e5 and then e6. That starts to create some deadly threats. Because then we'll just, at the very least, we'll be able to just penetrate on this side of the board and the king will be completely tied down. Then we'll tie down the bishop and maybe hope to use our extra pawn on this side of the board to prove decisive. Ooh, that move does not look good, man, because I just get to come here. And now I'll go here, and it's going to be even easier to tie the bishop down now. If we go here, yeah.
Check.
And now we just push, forcing the bishop to trade itself off for the pawn that will promote to a queen. This king will still be tied down, stalemate will never happen. And then we just slowly, like a walk in the park, walk our king over to the park that is the queen side, pick up the candy that's on the ground and eat it and be happy. Alright, this only helps us. This is a move we were going to provoke if we brought our king over. So I don't really see the value in this, but again, you know, our opponent doesn't really have much to do. And would not be surprised if they resigned. But it seems like a lot of times opponents, if it's the end game, they're not going to resign. All right. So we have some options. We could play g7 and force king takes g7, then play e7. Bishop takes, and we're winning. Let's make sure that is true. Yeah, so g7 forces king takes g7, e7, bishop e7. Yeah.
Check.
So this is the most direct win. We're just confronting the problem straight on. We're saying, hey, how are you going to stop me from promoting? I'm going to start pushing my pawns. And it happens that tactics allow me to do so. That's why it's the most straightforward way, because it's tactical and it's right to the point. All right. So what do we not do in this position? We do not, well, actually, we can kind of get away with anything in this position. So the idea is that after they take back, then we play c4, and the king will not be able to get to the pawn in time. So we force a passed pawn. The king will not be able to get to that passed pawn in time because of the barricade formed by our king covering the dark squares and our bishop covering the light squares. It's going to take the king a long way to get to the pawn. And for 1, 2, 3, 4 moves, it takes our king 1 move to parry all of those. So, but that won't be necessary because, you know, it's going to take way more moves than 4 moves to bring the king over. We'll have plenty of time to promote. The one thing we have to avoid in the position is stalemate, but the king has the open board. The king has my half of the board to himself, so the king has these 2 squares. All right, so we'll bring the queen down.
Check.
With the support of the bishop. Okay, what's the most clinical approach? We'll actually bring the queen to
Check.
c5. In order to force the king to go down somewhere. Then we bring in our... actually, I prefer the idea of just slowly forcing the king to the corner where the bishop has no influence, because we are going to keep it on this square so that it won't be influencing any king business. Now we bring our own king forward, and we will force the king to one of these 2 corners and mate with the queen and the king. We're going to forget about the bishop, except that if we force the king over to the a1 corner, then we won't forget that the bishop will be covering the a2 square. That's not going to be a problem with our setup, but it is worth noting in order to avoid stalemate. Our opponent can surely resign, but, you know, maybe they're just, I don't know, they're really hoping for a stalemate type game, but I guess they just don't see what's coming. All I'm doing is permanently keeping my queen at a knight's distance from this king, which forces the king to a corner. You can't do anything about it, and it will never stalemate. Okay, our opponent has left the game, so I claim victory.
Victory.
Alrighty. So how did that game go downhill so quickly for our opponent? We will investigate the opening. All right, so the Philidor defense is already really bad move. It's already really bad move. Like it's not played at the GM level, and at like national master level, expert level, it's playable, but there's no question that white gets a clear advantage. Like already, like white will already have like a nice stable advantage. So whenever you play the Philidor's defense, you have to know what you're doing. You have to know what you're doing. You can only afford so much passivity in these open structures, the E4, E5 games, open games. So I just continue naturally. And H6 is kind of where our opponent loses it. They already conceded with D6 so early. Playing H6, I would imagine this being at least plus 1.5, if not more. H6 is not what the position needs. The position just needs some standard classical principled development. So maybe we could look at knight c6, maybe we could look at knight f6. Those two moves look right to me. So I think I like knight f6 slightly better, because we want to get the king castled. All right. So I recognize that my opponent has played h6. I know that's not the right move. And even if I didn't know it's not the right move, I know that it's unprincipled. Why is it unprincipled? Because it doesn't develop a piece, and it doesn't aim to control the center. You moved like a pawn at the very corner of the board, and I mean, it's not like you're supporting a g5 pawn push that would disrupt my pawn on f4 to fight for the center in a very indirect way. No, none of that. None of that is happening. h6 is a very, very poor move. Our opponent is certainly overrated. They're 18-20. This move, no. And after this bishop g4 move, I know that our opponent really has lost it. They're not really following any opening principles. I mean, they have a pawn in the center, thank God, but they're not developing their king side. They're doing as little as they can to control the center. They're developing their bishops before either of their knights when, this knight is obviously going to f6. There's literally nowhere else it can go. h6 has been taken away from it, and I don't know why you'd ever consider that move. And e7 is never going to happen because the bishop has to go to e7. So knight f6 was the clear best move, most principled move, and you blew it. Bishop g4. I was trying to go fancy, trying to see if there was any bishop f7. I quickly decided that there wasn't. So then I briefly considered knight c3 because I was really lulled in by the prospect of going for a Legal's mate where I would play knight takes e5, sacrificing my queen, and then play bishop f7, king e7, and knight d5. That would be checkmate. It's a very common, not common, it's a very well-known pattern. Everybody should know it. It's very famous. But instead of that, I decided to go for the concrete approach of simply taking. If our opponent takes back with the pawn, that's a big mistake because we trade queens and then we take this knight on e5, threatening the bishop, threatening to fork on f7. The king can no longer castle, which is important because we have a lead in development. Even though the queens have been traded off the board, it's just going to be harder to develop all the pieces and coordinate the rooks when I have such a strong lead in development. And it's going to be scary for the king to move any squares beyond the 8th rank. So because of that, our opponent plays bishop takes f3. I briefly considered gf3. Briefly, but then I realized, wait, I have such a lead in development. queen f3. This is like a super souped up Philidor's defense. We essentially get at least an extra tempo from the normal Philidor's defense, which is already really passive. So I know like I'm doing great here, and that's concretely confirmed by the fact that after queen takes f3, you can't even take back with the pawn, lest you get mated. Our opponent, once again, does not follow chess principles at all. I don't know how this person is rated 1820. Not a single principle is followed beyond move 1 in this game. Literally. Move 2, very passive. Move 3, incredibly passive. Move 4, just a blunder. And then move 6, not moving out pieces. In fact, you're making it harder to develop. Like, I didn't have to try at all. Our opponent self-destructed this game. They're definitely overrated. And then, just make a really silly blunder, confirming my suspicion that I don't know, they're just not rated 1800. On Lichess, that is. Like, so that's like even lower on chess.com. So, yeah, then, blunder. Principled chess. This was probably the best move of the game from our opponent. Yeah, I think that was probably the best move from the opponent, because you get the king to safety, and you control the center, and you bring out your rook. So, congrats. I think that was their best move. I really wanted to play like knight d5 or knight b5, but I realized that I was spoiled for choice in this position, and therefore just went ahead and castled. There was also bishop takes f7, but I really saw no need to grab extra material at the expense of my development, so I just castled. Gotta bring all the guys to the party as quickly as possible. And I'm wondering if bishop e3 was better. I don't really think there's much of a difference. Let's see what the engine says. Yeah, there's like a 0.2 difference between them, according to the engine. And actually, it's actually the best move at depth. Let's see, we'll let it crank. Well, I'm not going to let it crank for that. It's useless. And then h5, logical, trying to, trap my bishop, so I have to do something about that. I play knight d5. I believe knight b5 was more accurate, though, for the exact reason that I wanted to play it earlier as opposed to knight d5. But I just kind of, slipped up, and maybe, I don't know, knight d5 is just very, very pretty move. But it doesn't really matter. Kind of nitpicking here. So I bring my knight to d5 in order to support the bishop coming to c7. What I would have done had I caught this earlier is played knight b5 due to the fact that rook takes d5 is no longer a threat, winning 2 pieces for a rook. So that gives our opponent some material back. I figured it would be completely fine because we're fully developed and we're +4 material. We will continue to have a strong initiative afterwards, so I wasn't worried about it, but that was kind of sloppy by me. I will admit that was kind of sloppy by me. And then our opponent found the tactic, good for them. And then rook takes d5 is the most accurate recapture, because it just allows me to quickly double up on the d file, which creates threats on d7, and then this bishop is x-raying the knight, and that proved to be extremely useful in the game itself because of the blunder. Rook h7,
Check.
then I just come to d7, king's got to go somewhere, and then we just get to take the knight.
Check.
Yep, so just bring the bishop back. Actually, yeah, wait a second. I brought it to c4, but e6 I just missed in the game. e6 is just a much nicer looking square than c4. Not that it really matters. There's probably no difference between them. Like, there's no significant difference between them from a human perspective, besides the fact that e6 is just a little more active. But I mean, our opponent's so passive, like, it doesn't, like, the only reason I'm nitpicking here is because I think that if you can nitpick and play the most accurate moves in positions where you're completely winning, then that also helps you play the most accurate moves in positions where it actually counts. So for that reason, it is important to think about the most accurate moves, even though in this context, in the context of this game, it doesn't really matter. All right. So the best move here was not f4. F4 is only +8. G4 is +9. The reason being is because I should have played King F1, which is just a nice bit of prophylaxis. Not letting any shenanigans happen over here. Sure, you can play G takes and it looks scary, but you know, we're taking it back immediately. We're taking it back immediately. The rook gets minimal activity. We're happy. Alright, so if I come here, the rook comes here, then no, we just take right here. And actually, we don't even have to worry about this. We just wait a second. Wait, now I'm seeing this mate pattern. I take right here, you take right. Oh, but then I have a move to react, so I'm fine. So we take right here, he takes, and before this pawn ever becomes a real threat, we neutralize it immediately. And then, you know, black is completely innocuous.
Check.
So really great game by me, really terrible game by the opponent. That's really the only reason that this game went so smooth, is because the opponent
Check.
severely misunderstood the core principles of chess. Here I like rook takes better.
Check.
Because, like, the rook gets active now, these pawns are now hanging, the bishop can always come in later, you know.
Check.
Not now. But the bishop can come in.
Check.
Once the rook is not hanging. The rook could, I don't know, like, just do a lot, I don't know, just, this is more flexible. The rook gets these two open files to maneuver along, and it can kind of coordinate with the bishop and converge over here. It just feels a little better. I think our opponent probably just missed that after
Check.
the bishop check, I could actually move my king and simultaneously defend the pawn. So this person, once again, is very, very underrated. Or, sorry, overrated. This person does not deserve their rating. But a lesson for me is that a bit of prophylaxis with King F1 would have been the best move. And the calculationally, it's actually kind of deep. Why? As we already went over. Because, like, in this position, I don't really think a human would play this move, because why give black a mating pattern? Just why, you know? It just brings possibility, rook g2, rook h2, but if we spend time actually calculating, then we see that, you know, the rook can't come down immediately, because we play, you know, some takes, or maybe like, we play some takes, so, and then if the rook would take on h2 and it'd be scary, but then we'd neutralize the pawn. So honestly, I think that is really nitpicky. I don't think any human would want to play King F1, though it's definitely entirely possible to calculate. It's not super deep, it's just a bit too deep for this position, I'd say. But it is nice to bring up the fact that, hey, like, maybe think about some prophylaxis. And I don't really think the rest of the game... Actually, yes, the rest of the game does. Because I threw some of my lead by completely missing this X-ray. X-ray attack with the rook. Yeah, no, I missed that. That's a
Check.
blunder on my part. Even though the computer doesn't consider it
Check.
a blunder, I think it's a blunder. Because the game is just harder to win now. Because now we're in an
Check.
in-game and I have to rely on my pawn majorities. Obviously it's completely winning and it's not too hard to convert, but we don't have a queen on the board yet, and our opponent has a bishop. It's opposite colored bishops. So, you know. But this is completely winning and not too difficult. But it did force me to have to play accurate, to be careful. I had to calculate. Whereas in the other line, if I didn't miss this tactic, I wouldn't have to calculate as much, which is, funnily enough, the reason why I missed this, because I didn't calculate. But also just realizing this pattern, more deeply integrating this pattern. More deeply integrating this pattern into my brain, into the troughs and valleys of my brain fiber. So just this, and the rook was already unprotected, so
Check.
it's really easy
Check.
to clear away. Yeah. But it is nice that this happened, because then I was able to demonstrate, in my opinion, very well how to convert this sort of advantage.
Check.
Displayed
Check.
some in-game principles,
Check.
king activity, centralization. I didn't talk about it directly, but I did demonstrate the principle of the two weaknesses, which in games, in any position in
Check.
general, but it really comes to life in in-games. If you're better and you have a clear advantage, the best way to win is just to create another advantage, or in other terms, create another weakness for your opponent, and then combine the two advantages or weaknesses together and overwhelm your opponent. That tends to it works really well, because you overwhelm the opponent, they have to stop both, they get tied down. It's better.
Check.
Also, I
Check,
think
check.
I played pretty patient as the position called for.
Check.
So, yeah, okay. Let's do it again. Hopefully we get better competition this game.
Ready.
Okay, d4. We're going to play d5. Okay, so it looks like our opponent is going to play a London system. Never fear the London. Nobody knows how to play the London at this level. So, I'm wagering that black is going to be better in about 7 moves or less. Alright, so we already have a nice share in the center. Our opponent, in classic London fashion, responds in a very passive way. We go for queen c7, increasing our control of e5. We will follow it up, if unprovoked, with knight b to d7. And if our opponent castles, then black is already better. We will take the bishop and play e5. This is well-known theory. I think we still play e5, and now it just comes with a strong threat. Yeah, so black is already better. Our center is menacing. Our pieces are well placed. Our opponent has conceded with a few passive moves. Our king is safe. Our opponent's is in the center. We've opened up an e-file for our rook, semi-open. I don't know why bishop takes was played. That doesn't make... And then what? And then castle's over here? What the hell, bro? I feel like we... Let's say we just develop. Do we give away our 2 bishops? Could play bishop here, but maybe that's annoying. No, that's not too annoying. But is this possible? Oh, we could try that. That actually seems decent. This seems the most active way, and it keeps our bishop pair. For now, I guess. They're. Oh no! But then we allow. Oh fuck! But then we allow h3. We're gonna have to give our bishop away. Knight comes back, and our situation is not great. I mean, our situation is. We're just slightly better there. Ah. Okay, yeah, so that was a mistake. We're not gonna, no, okay, so we have to take, and now we think, maybe even play like that. We could also come in, develop the rooks. I actually like develop the rooks. Yes. Maybe there's an argument for a5 because it's opposite side castles. But I think I like this pawn break. So maybe we build the position up slowly. Rook a to c8, maybe queen d6, and then we play for d4. I also like this idea. I do really like that idea. Maybe this is better. Because undermining this pawn would be great. Maybe we can play this immediately. No, we cannot. Alright. I like... This seems principled. This is the most principled move. So I'm going to play the most principled move. I'm not going to get caught up in, you know, a5. This just looks like the most principled. Okay, I don't like this move because it blocks the bishop, so the bishop's not attacking anymore. And now I can play d4. So I really like, I like this move for me. For my opponent, however, I don't think it's a good move. Alright, we want to get this guy in the game. This pawn is kind of weak. I do like that. There is also...
Check.
So we're controlling the square in front of this pawn, prohibiting its advance. And now... I don't love the idea of piling up pressure on this pawn. Maybe I should have kept the bishop here and just brought the knight in. No. I do like that, actually. I like that a lot. But perhaps it also makes sense to prepare a6. I also have yet to acknowledge that we did generate ourselves a protected passer. So that's kind of big. Ooh, I do not like that move at all. Now this bishop, and in the future the knight, will have an amazing outpost on these dark squares on f5 or f4. But I think I want to come here. Now the knight will be very well right here. Bishop peeking into the position. Oh, the only thing is we would go into opposite colored bishops. I'm definitely better, but it's harder to win those because our opponent could always, I don't know how I feel about that. I'm not really putting this guy to use. Yeah, I actually am going to stick the bishop here. I don't really want to go into opposite colored bishops. And I know we'd have attacking chances, but I think we can preserve our attacking chances while not going into opposite colored bishops and play this game a little slower. Because these pawns have been advanced, now I can play knight f6, and now I get the g4 square. I could dream. Okay, I really like this. I really like this position now. Another reason I brought the bishop to e5 was to tempt our opponent into taking it. I really like this. This just looks great. But we might already have some tactic ideas. No, this looks great because now our queen can come in. Hits this guy with tempo. Then we start to go to town on this pawn. Maybe we want to play a6 and prepare it. Hard to say. But I do really like this knight. This is a good knight, and this is a bad bishop. The question is it worth taking this pawn? My intuition says it's not. Though I could always come here. No. I think we give the opponent way too much initiative for that. Yeah. So our opponent really is gonna play rook e2. Unless they have a more creative approach. Oh wait, I don't know why I said that. Yeah, this is a move. This is for sure a move. Kind of like this. But I also like this. I don't like that the queen could get in. Maybe I want to keep. Okay. It's really unclear how I should go forward here. Goes like that. Okay, so you're trying to double rooks. That's not really effective here. So I don't mind that. If I take, then doubling rooks seems to be effective. I think I've been delaying this idea for too long, for far too long. Yeah. E6. Even that. Ooh. But how am I coordinating though is the thing. I don't know. Alright, keep the blockade here. I think I need to regroup. Okay, so if takes and here. Okay, this is probably a mistake. It's probably a mistake. But at least I can play a6, b5. Opponent has a4, which weakens b2, or the b file. So then rook c6, rook b6 is an option. Or rook b8 followed by b5 is good. Alright, this seems pretty loose coordination. This seems strong, but okay. So c takes. Question is, can I get away with that? Seems a bit dicey. Maybe if my queen was here, but I don't want to do that now. Though if I bring my rook up, a4, and then the situation is worse, so I think I play it immediately. Wow. I think that was a mistake. That's possible. But I want to start creating threats first. This will be necessary. But I want white to respond to me. Oh, you know. Just realized this is kind of a threat. Yeah, that's kind of a threat. Because there's a pin to this pawn. So then, okay, maybe then I would just play... Ooh, this could have been a mistake. That could honestly... Ooh. Okay, alright. So g6. I don't know why there's calculation here. Okay, so HG. Probably rook here. Oh no, but then rook g7. Ooh. Oh, this is not good. Oh, that is not good. All right. I probably am lost.
Check.
What? Whoa, that feels like wrong. That feels really wrong. Because now I can take. You skewer, and then I push. Alright, this gives me some chance. Maybe g5 and I'm holding it together barely. g5, rook h8. I'm setting a trap. That's all I can do.
Check.
If f8, I think I'm done.
Check.
Oh, shoot. Setting a trap. Idea is I have mate on e1. Oh, but I don't even have mate on
Check.
e1. Oh yeah, wait, I don't even have mate on e1.
Check. Check.
Now I do, maybe.
Check.
I think it's forced mate.
Check. You lose.
That was a good game. That was a really good game. This person is underrated at 1750. Alright. So I think opening went very well. Problem number 1 is playing really slow once I had an advantage. So this is all pretty standard. Here, black's better already. Long castles, I knew it was a mistake. And I think I should have started storming pawns. Let's see. Bishop d6 was indeed best. Keeping the bishop pair. Wow, actually by a lot. I'm not sure why though. Wait, why the hell would that be played? The thing I missed is that actually c4 is not a bad move in this structure. Okay. Bishop f4 was best.
Check.
And then what? c4. Oh. In 94, okay. Yeah, okay, so one of my problems is that I was predisposed against c4, thinking that I would want to play d4. But actually, c4 is a very fine move in this structure. C4 is a very fine move in this structure. because I know that I'm going to storm. So I'm creating space with my pawns. I'm keeping this guy in place, and I'm making it such that I can play b5, b4, maybe even a5. This sort of closed position really favors me because I already have so much space over here, and I'm just going to push my pawns really quickly, whereas my opponent is not at all ready for an attack over on their wing, but I'm quite ready for an attack on this wing. Okay. So the best line takes... Oh, the knight can boomerang back. So I have to play... Come on, why is it so slow? c4, knight takes, and queen takes. Bishop f1, and rook a to b8, preparing b5, b4, g4, and now the game looks a bit more even. So then why is this? So CD, CD.
Check.
Okay, because this knight is pretty good. And this bishop is pretty good too. My bishop is a little clunky, and so is my knight. So this is actually about evaluating the position strategically, multiple moves down the road. Okay, so for just simply CD, bishop D, knight D, basically a mass trade. It would force a mass trade, and that's not good here, because then after that mass trade I have to evaluate what the pieces would be like. First of all, queens have been traded off the board, which I don't like. Second of all, an isolated pawn has been created. Say after this. No, actually this. Well, actually, yeah.
Check.
Isolated pawn has been created. E5 is hard to stop. And I don't know, this is just a weakness. And the opponent has a majority over here. You know, could be kind of drawish, but I feel like white must be better in this position. Strictly better, though probably not by much.
Check.
And so what I missed...
Check.
was, I mean, a big thing, a big pattern is that the queens are going to get traded. I don't like that. I want to get the position closed, which is why I really like, which is why c4 should have been a move that I liked at some point, and just structurally, so not like concrete, but
Check.
But there are many times where c4 would have been a good move. For example, here, it would have been good. And takes.
Check. Check. Check.
bishop
Check.
f4. He wants c4, and then I need to figure out why this is so good. Well, it's so good because it gains space, like I said earlier. And I win the central pawn. Kick the bishop away. The bishop is the only minor piece defending this pawn. So after the bishop goes away, then I get to take, and there are no pieces of equal value guarding it or lesser value guarding it. So I win a pawn. c4. So really the lessons to learn structurally. There's a tactical lesson and a structural lesson that are very intertwined here. This is a mistake because bishop
Check.
f4, king g1, and then c4. The bishop has to go away, so it's a multi-pronged thing. And then we win a pawn. Kick the bishop away because it's the only minor piece defending this guy. And then we win it. I feel like f1's probably better. Then we win it. Okay, d4 is terrible structurally because I get an isolated pawn. It essentially forces the queen traits.
Check.
And white's pieces are clearly better. Every single one of them is better than mine. So the lesson is evaluating the piece activity at the end of the line. If there's nothing tactically, evaluate the piece activity at the end of the line. Compare the pieces. Okay. And then structurally, c4 is actually something I want, which I actively avoided in the game. c4 because it takes away space from the light squared bishop, but it also just gives me so much space to work with over here. My queen can come to a5, I can play b5, life begins to flow again in the position.
Check.
Alright, I'm going to call it... Actually, no. I'm going to look at how I lost the good knight, bad bishop. So I tempted my opponent into this, and now I'm a lot better. And I knew it, but I just didn't know how to continue. So let's figure out strategically how to continue. I played knight f3 with best move. Then the position wanted knight back to e5. Well, that's not very human. No, actually, I played the best move again. c1, knight back to e5, best move. f3. See, I considered rook c6, but I just didn't see how it could coordinate with the other pieces. I think the problem there... Wow. The problem there is, like, I can't let these guys be passive. I have to activate them somehow. So if that means playing like this, then I gotta do it. Oh, and then they could get active over here and then induce weaknesses. So there actually were ways to make that work. And it wasn't just about coordinating for checkmate. It was about making them active in their own right. And then, yeah, I called it, this being a mistake. Computer considers it inaccurate. But I really struggled finding what else to do. And for whatever reason, I rejected rook c6. But rook c6 needed to happen is a thing. Also, f6 actually. f6 is not making sense.
Check.
h5? Are you kidding me? Oh, the whole time f6 was about activating the rook. Oh my god. So that's another reason that rook c6 was good. Is because it got space along the 6th rank and had options. f6 became an idea to activate the rook over here. Wow, I'm learning so many new ideas. Okay, black is a little better here. And then the final tactic is this one. Thinking I could push, missing this pin and the significance. g6 is a killer. g6 is that one move I missed, but it's important because the pin. I needed to do the anti-blunder check. Just look at my territory and just consider my opponent's attacking moves. Checks, captures, attacks if nothing else. Let's see, the tide of return, no.
Check.
I thought I was setting a trap
Check.
with playing rook e2, gf. No, or sorry, g5. Thought I was
Check.
setting a trap with this and then hoping that takes would happen, after which I thought I had
Check.
mate because c2 was covered, but the problem is that there's just the queen on the c file, and so that my trap actually never
Check.
would have worked.
Check. Check.
But then of course with best play, I think rook g8 was a solid
Check.
move. I can't really do anything. I was hoping once again that I would be able to somehow get away with this idea, but it was around this moment I realized
Check.
the trap wouldn't even work.
Check.
So,
Check.
and now it's forced mate.
Check. Check.
So that was okay. I learned a lot. So that was a really good game. That was really good. I need to save this to a study and textually analyze it later.